and welcome back to Tuesdays with Tuesday. I'm Tuesday, and I write fantasy fiction under the name Mary E. Twomey. Today, we have already finished the book Taste, so go back to my other videos and listen to Taste so you know what book 1 is. But today, I'm reading you a bonus chapter, which is just chapter 1 of book 2. Book 2 is called Tremble. Marianne cried the whole way to the mansion. Her cooing sniffles were the only sounds as we walked inside and awaited my doom. I didn't want to think about the fact that I'd just murdered the Goblin King, Titus. Each time I closed my eyes longer than a blink, I saw his wrinkled Christmas elf body turning to stone and crushing into pebbles when I'd lost my mind after he threatened Mason. My head hung as I waited outside the conference room at Ezra's mansion. I guess Ezra was going to be my stepdad when he married Bev, but in this capacity, he was my boss. I'd just screwed up royally my first week on the job. Instead of reaping enough souls to feed the nations of Tearaway, I'd managed to wipe out 1/7 of their nations in a single blow. Titus had tied himself to his people, connecting his life with all the goblins in Tearaway. It had been a solid plan to survive a famine. If he ate, none of the goblins starved. I don't think Titus counted on a fight when he crossed me. Ezra opened the door to the conference room with a closed expression, ushering me inside. I gasped at the remnants of Titus's body that had been shoved in the corner next to the ficus. The statue that had mere hours ago been a living, breathing being was still intact from the neck down, solid stone though it was. One leg was raised higher than the other, and his arm was outstretched, frozen as it reached out to snatch at the stone, or at me. I backed away, my heels skidding on the short carpet as anxiety brimmed in me at the evidence of my madness. Mason's hand on my back was supposed to be reassuring, but I'm not sure anything could have calmed me enough to make me forget I'd just slaughtered an entire people in one go. I kept my head down, accepting whatever sentence the Council of Tearaway had for me. My hands were shaking as I scratched at the skin on the backs of them. I didn't bother sitting at the long, oval-shaped, polished wood table. My insides felt hollow and painted in a thin layer of white coldness that had nothing to do with the chill I got from reaping. Mason sat in his chair, patting the one next to him that had been selected for me. I stood, knowing I didn't deserve a seat at the cool kids' table after what I'd done. Caballo, Captain Finn, Sylvia, and Langham all stared at me with a new kind of curious fascination that was mingled with a wary, watch out for that one, she's nuts, looks. I was sorely missing Vaughn, who still hadn't shown up for work. They would lock me up for sure, and I wouldn't even be able to say goodbye to him. The worst was that I wouldn't be able to explain things to Ollie. I'd just disappear in some tearaway jail, separated from my big brother, who would never be the same. He would think I'd abandoned him, like our sister Allie had done to us. Ezra and I were the only ones standing. I lowered my chin when he took the floor to start my private hearing. We've been discussing at length how to handle this situation, and have come to the conclusion that your involvement in this should be kept secret, Lady October. My head whipped up to gaze at Ezra, but I didn't say a word. It's in the best interest of Tearaway to let Titus's arrogance of tying himself to his people as if he were immortal stand as a lesson to not dabble in such things. He was foolish, and now he and his people are dead. Who did it doesn't matter at this point. What matters is that no other kings feel tempted to bind themselves to their people in the same way. My mouth fell open in shock. It wasn't until Ezra's verdict that I glanced up and took in the casual demeanor of everyone in the council. Caballo was leaning back, his black horse head mildly interested as he tapped his fingertips on the arm of his chair. Captain Finn had his hands folded across his stomach, his left combat boot crossed over his right knee. He had a calm look about him, like he was watching the whole thing on television on a Sunday afternoon. Even Sylvia, the woman with a crescent-shaped face and bat-like enhancements, only wore an expression of mild concern. like I was there for a traffic violation. Like I hadn't just murdered a whole race of people. Ezra waved his hand in my direction. You can carry on about your day then, that's all. Just keep this to yourselves the next time you're in Tearaway. My head whipped from one end of the table to the other, my somber expression mutating into indignation. No! Are you kidding me with this? I just murdered probably thousands of people. Caballo raised his finger to correct me. Tens of thousands. And goblins aren't people, they're a plague. Good riddance to the whole of them. Prince Langham wasn't even interested in the conversation, but played with one of the cockroaches as it skittered up his muddy arm. Is the meeting over yet? I glowered at Lang. I'm smack in the middle of talking, you jag. Finn quirked an eyebrow at my outburst. Do you want us to hang you? Then where would we be? Even with the goblins taken off the list of creatures the souls you reap would have to fuel, Tearaway will still starve without a healthy omen. Lady Mary Ann can't keep up with the demand anymore. Finn inclined his head apologetically to Ezra out of respect for speaking disparagingly about his daughter. Caballo stood as if the whole meeting was adjourned. Frankly, you only did what everyone in this room wishes they could get away with. Goblins have been stealing food from the neighboring lands when they don't actually need it, since they were tied to Titus. Every time one of our horses takes ill, it's from some goblin's curse. I tried to picture the reverse centaur standing before me, actually riding on a horse, but it was too weird of a visual. I cleared my throat to address the room as an equal. You all should be ashamed of yourselves. I killed baby goblins who didn't even have a chance to change their people for the better. I killed the good people as well as the bad. You can't let me off the hook for this. It's not right. Sylvia eyed Titus's stone body warily. There's no such thing as a good goblin. None that I've seen anyway. They all grow up the same. Greedy and sneaky. Mason's hand on my arm was gently trying to tell me to shut up and be grateful, but I ignored him. I leaned my knuckles down on the table, resolute in my conviction. No, I won't help a world that has no checks and balances. No one is above the law, not even the people in this room. I mean it. I'm not leaving until I am punished in some way. Ezra softened, pinching the bridge of his nose. What would you have me do? If I throw you in jail, it only punishes the people of Tearaway who continue to starve. My eyes met Ezra's with no hint of optimism or peace. I just committed genocide. I hope you understand that. I don't care if the goblins were a people worth saving. On your payroll is a mass murderer. Don't you dare tell me you can go to sleep with that on your conscience. I shook my head at Ezra. I'm a correctional nurse. I believe in the justice system. Know me a little bit, Ezra. Captain Finn's smile told me that no matter how insistent I was, they weren't going to take this as seriously as they should. Caballo, why don't you take the new omen down to your prison? Let her look around at how many cells were opened up when the goblins turned to stone. More than half. The statues are being moved to the palace garden right now, actually. No one is above the law, I argued, furious. That's the whole point of having a law. I mean, honestly. Prince Langham stood, and several dozen cockroaches skittered across his shoulders and trailed down his mud-streaked arms. Are we done here? I've got to get back. No, we're not done. You can't let me do this with no repercussions. Captain Finn scratched the gills on his neck and stood. His short blonde hair was ruffled on the left, and I wondered if he ever worried about things like bedhead. He was wearing that same cocky smile that had a hint of cruelty to it as he stared across the table at me. Expect a shipment of gold from King Bannock in the morning, expressing his gratitude. You've done Tearaway a great favor, Lady October. I jabbed my finger in his direction, livid that this was all a joke to them. Don't you smile at me. Don't you dare smile about this. Caballo bowed slightly to Ezra, and then to me, chuckling at my indignation. She wants to be punished? Take away her dessert, Ezra. No cake for a whole day. He extended his hand to shake mine, but I refused, sniffing at the offensive offer. Caballo shook Mason's hand instead, and then vanished before my eyes. I jumped, and then remembered the kings and important blowhards all had enhancements that allowed them to transport their bodies between worlds on a dime. Sylvia inclined her head to me. We've been trying to ward off the goblins for months now, but they keep encroaching on our territory. Thank you for helping us. She placed her hand on the table and met my eyes with sincerity I couldn't shrug off. Truly. But I tried to protest, but no one was listening. Sylvia and Captain Finn vanished, and then Lang followed suit after he walked behind my chair and squeezed my shoulder. Mason exhaled when it was just Danny, Ezra, and me with him in the conference room. We got lucky there. Then he craned his neck up at me with a scolding expression from where he still sat at the table. Are you trying to get yourself killed? Take the pardon next time. Are you kidding me with this? This is wrong, Mason. You should know that a country's leaders should have to follow the same rules as its citizens. Danny's arms were crossed over his chest. I can't believe you're upset about getting off without punishment. You're just trying to be difficult. Hello, I work at a prison. I see every day that checks and balances matter. I know in my heart that I belong in jail on death row. I killed a man in cold blood just because he... My eyes fell on Mason before they closed to shut out the world for a few seconds. Mason stood, his hand rubbing circles into the middle of my back. You thought Titus was going to kill me. I can't tell if you're right, but I know you did what you had to do. It was Titus's fault for tying himself to his people with the Tahi charm. We all warned him of the danger. Don't, I warned quietly. Don't you let me off the hook, too. Mason's body was warm and inviting. I don't know why I felt the tug of a magnet in my gut, but it drew me to him so I could wrap myself in his comfort. For 3 whole seconds, I breathed, inhaling the relief of his calming presence that smelled like patchouli and grown man. I stiffened when his hand trailed to the small of my back. It was such an intimate space on my body, but the alarms weren't because his hand felt wrong there. My hackles rose because his touch felt all too right. I didn't deserve comfort, and I was taking it like a glutton. I pushed Mason back and stomped out of the room, running down to the basement, where the cell I knew I deserved was waiting for me. That was the first chapter of Tremble, which is book 2 in the Tearaway series. Hop on over to Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Kobo, Google Play, iBooks, anywhere you get your books, and it will be there for you in ebook, paperback, hardcover, audiobook, and I don't read the audiobook, so you'll like it even better. An actual professional does it. But if you'd like to finish the Tearaway series, it's ready for you. Thanks for reading with me. I like spending time with you.